Hello and welcome. On today's episode of One on One, we'll be focusing on writing and migration. Now, writing is a talent for some, and for some it's a skill. Now, there are different categories of people who enjoy writing on different levels, and writing has become a required skill in the 21st century to succeed, whether you're in business, whether you're in academic, career, or any sphere of life. Now, Uwanma Odefa is a best-selling author of romance novels that spotlight lifestyle and social situations in Nigeria and Africa. She's a media personality as well as a human resource professional with a focus on organizational development and change management. She currently lives in Europe and is a partner migration consultant for Nationale. Thank you, Wana. Yes, you live in Europe, but you're right here with us in Nigeria and Lagos today. Thank you for joining us.
Like it's really hot and humid right now.
Oh, well, enjoy the heat before you go back into the freezing cold.
Briefly.
So thank you. So now let's talk about writing.
Yes.
Now, how does a budding writer begin to hone his skill? His talent to become a skill. So you have this gift, you know you can write, but how do you hone it to become so effortlessly at
Practice. I think that's just the best you can do. Start. Some people think, I have to wait until I'm perfect or at a certain level to put it out there. But I think just start with whatever you've got, put it out, then the feedback would help you hone those skills. And then also look at your peers. It's not something I do, but I recommend it because I always feel like if I look at what others are writing, then it can influence my tone.
Okay.
Yeah, but for most people, they find that it helps them to focus. If I'm having a specific challenge, maybe describing certain scenarios, then I can research that particular scenario based on how other writers describe it. But other than that, I'll just say practice. There are a lot of platforms for budding writers to put their work out for free. And then people read it and give you feedback, and then based on that you can, that's actually how I started writing as an author.
Oh, okay.
Writing my novels. I put it out on a free reading app, and it was just something I started out of not just boredom, but I was in a rough space at the time, and it was an outlet for me. And I put the first few chapters, and I kept getting, so when's the next chapter? So when's the next chapter? And I thought, and by the time I was getting midway through, people were like, look, don't give this thing away for free. It's too good. It's as good as any published work out there, so make money off of it. So I yanked it off from the free app.
Okay, and then?
Finished the book and put it on the major book reading platforms in Nigeria, Africa, and I guess globally, the major ones everyone knows. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their names, but they are out there. And I started making money.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so you've even delved to like two of my questions already.
Right.
I want to ask you, how did you develop your own passion for writing? So tell us, say you're in a difficult space, so what happened?
Well, prior to that, I've always been someone who loved to write,
Okay.
even as a child. Short stories. I was always the best in English, best in literature, prize winner at school. And even in the course of my career, when it comes to writing, even adverts, job descriptions, writing just generally comes easy for me. Business plans, all of that. I mean, it was already a gift that I had. I just had to channel it, I guess, and I get easily not distracted, but my attention span I get bored easily.
Okay.
So I could start the story and, okay, I'm bored with this right now. One of my books really stretched me because it became a living thing. The story just kept writing, like, look, I'm 30 chapters in, I'm done. But for some reason, it just kept going. So the passion has always been there, I guess. I just needed to find the right push to actually create something out of it.
Okay, so let's talk about money, because you said you started making money from it. Like every other business, does writing really pay? Now,
define really pay, because for some greedy person, really pay might be $1 million every month or $3 million every month. I mean, it's just one source of income for me. And right now, these days, you've got to have several sources of income. Otherwise, the economy is going to cripple you.
Yeah.
So you've got your day job, you've got your writing, you've got all sorts of platforms. And then because I've got them in several places, and some of those platforms pay you in foreign currency, so that helps a little.
Okay, so I know that you're a HR professional. So how do you find time to balance between doing a regular day job and finding time to write and also to read? Because I hear that for you to be a writer, you must be a reader as well. So how do you find time to balance this?
Okay, let me take the second aspect of being a reader to be a writer. I don't know, I feel like that's a myth.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was an avid reader as a much younger person, as a child to early adulthood, but I don't read that much anymore. I mean, beyond business-related books and all, but as for prose, I mean, some of the famous books out there, like, oh, this person writes, you sort of like write like this person or this author. Have you read any of her books? Do you know her? Never heard of her, or I've never read her books, you know. So I don't think that to be a good writer, you have to be a good reader. I think you just have to have imagination. And then, of course, work on your craft in terms of skills, actually understanding grammar, tenses, you know, the sentence construction and all of those things. But otherwise, yeah.
Okay.
And then the first part was, how do I find time?
To balance, yes.
I used to have a boss who did several things at the same time. I used to wonder, you know, and I used to pray, God, please just give me energy to be this kind of person. Unfortunately, I think I'm blessed with that kind of energy. I don't get that many hours of sleep, and I'm more functional at night. So I think I just find a way. I don't know. I think that if it interests you, you'll find the time and the energy for it. If it's something you've got a passion for, you do it. Of course, there are times when you feel overwhelmed because you've got lots of work to do, lots of deliverables on one hand, and I've got like, let's say 3 or 4 caps at the moment. So, but just, yeah, sometimes you might drop the ball on 1 or 2 things, but you have to be adept enough to pick it up.
All right. Okay, well, we have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. And on this episode today, we're talking about writing. Uwunma is telling us of how she draws a balance and how she makes money from it. I wanted to find out from you. You write romance, and in Nigeria, this romance niche, does it really sell? Is there like a huge following for it in Nigeria?
First of all, I don't just write romance, I write erotica.
Aha!
Yeah. You know, so
Don't
look at me different.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying for the Nigerian market, how has that helped in the, you know?
When I first put my very first book, Stormy Passion, on one of the, I think it's probably Africa's biggest reading platform, and before I put it there, when I started writing this book and a few of my friends read it, there's a group I belong to, some of them are quite righteous, you know, and they're like, oh no, this book won't sell in Nigeria, you know, Nigerians are religious, you know, Nigerians are XYZ. And I said, well, I've written it, there's not much I can do, let's see the reaction. So I put it on this platform, and in 2 weeks I became their highest bestseller.
Oh, wow.
So I beat out the business books, I beat out famous authors whose books they had on their platform. So I was telling the owner of the app that, look, I was getting these feedbacks. Sir, you know how we are, we are religious in the outside. You know, so people read them. And then I did an anthology with about 20 other African romance writers, and they gave the same feedback. One of them is an LGBTQ writer, and her books are doing very well. So yeah, there's a huge market. It might be a closet market, but there is a market.
Interesting. So why don't you give like an advice, or what would you say to someone who is writing? And you know how with everything we always have this imposter syndrome of how you feel this is not good enough, this is not good enough, you're trying to the brain. How does that person move on from there? What will you say to the person?
I think maybe say to yourself, okay, yes, I'm an imposter, so what? Just put it out there anyway. And understand that everybody has these feelings. I was having this very conversation with a friend of mine who's the MD of a major oil company in Africa. They're like the biggest, you know, oil provider in Africa. He was just made MD last year, and he tells me when he's sitting with, you know, these oil billionaires and they're having it, he keeps pinching me like, should I be here? So if someone like him is having that. And I told him this is called imposter syndrome. Oh, that he's never even heard of it. I said, that's what it's called. So just tell yourself, remind yourself that you've come this far. You've already gotten in the room. Then you deserve to be in the room. So if you've written a book and one person has told you it's fantastic, then it's fantastic. You're fantastic. Just have that at the back of your mind. Of course, that imposter syndrome will always whisper to you. Have a support system too, that helps.
Okay.
I mean, I know some of these women who are my friends who are religious, but they say, look, Uwunma, I won't read your book, but I know you are gifted. I've seen other writing you've done, so just run with it. So find yourself a support system.
Okay, fantastic. So now let's talk about the other side of you, because you're a woman with many moving parts. HR professional. Let's talk about migration, because I feel like it's migration season in Nigeria. You meet someone now, they're relocating, it's not Canada, it's somewhere in Europe, they're moving to the UK, everybody just going out of the country. But also on the flip side, what I also worry about is that there are many people that are, two things. So maybe this is a two-pronged question. There's some people, as funny as easy as it is now, some people are still going illegally, because last year, for example, I interviewed some people who were, I would say scammed, but they were trafficked. They were told that they were going to migrate them to, I think, somewhere in Europe, and then they found themselves going through Kano, and from like that, they ended up in Libya, had to stay in Libya for like 2 years. Yes, like that, and, working, both male and female, So, what do people need to know? So it's exciting, you want to live in another country, but what do you need to know, and what skills are you required to have?
Okay, first of all, migration season in Nigeria didn't just start.
Yeah.
It's been here for at least a decade. It's just that it seems that with each passing year, it becomes more frenetic.
True.
Everyone's like, okay, it's now. And then your circle begins to be impacted by the season. So it feels like everybody is talking about it. So it has been around for a while. And I think that people get into trouble because they don't realize that there are so many choices out there. Most people are focused on Canada, the US, the UK. That's about it. But there's a whole world out there that you can, migrate to and make a difference in. And these countries, small, but countries with strong economies, are looking for what we call international talent. We don't like to call them migrants or immigrants. International talent. They are looking for these people. So all you need to do is redirect your focus. And then again, you need to vet anybody can tell you they're, but they've got to show you proof that they've either moved other people there or they themselves have moved there. And then also, I think a lot of people think that once you're maybe at a certain life stage or you're at a certain level, it's harder for you, so you have to do it through underhanded means. And a lot of us Nigerians, we like the
back door.
Yes, because we feel, okay, we're already disqualified, so let's just find a back door. There's no disqualification. It doesn't matter your age, your status in life, whether you went to school or not, or how long ago you left school. There are countries, especially in Europe, which is my area of focus, there are ways to get in legally. And in literally months, you would have a temporary residence permit.
Oh,
literally months. And the only reason why some of these countries is taking months now is because of COVID. So there's skeletal services, most people are working from home. So for the few people who are working in the offices, they are few and can impact output. But otherwise, it can be done legit.
Yeah, really. Okay, let's talk, I'll take another question before we go on a break. Let's talk about moving, abroad, moving away from your home country, settling, like in so many ways, your work ethics, adjusted into the lifestyle there. What was it like for you moving out of Nigeria and living in Europe?
Well, because I'm pretty well traveled, not so hard, because I tend to make several trips in a year and usually to Europe. So it wasn't so hard. But when it comes to actually living there, working there with other people, it's different. And I would like to say that if there's one thing you would say about Nigerians living abroad is that they're hard workers, hard and smart workers. So a lot of these companies, they are super impressed by how hard we work, that it just blows their mind because they pamper people abroad. Here, everything is by fire, by force, So now we go there with that attitude, like, okay, I know what I went through to get here, so I have to do the work, earn my stay, you know. And I think we're just natural things that most people I don't know how to put it, but we tend to give it all. We pour ourselves into it. Everything is, we have to get it done. So there, it's more chill and laid back, and then you come. Yes, it might actually make people resent you a bit, because even in some of my colleagues look at me like, So I get that air of overachiever. Yes, but hey, my journey is different from yours.
Okay, we'll take another quick break, and after this break, Uwunma will still be here with me. Thank you for staying with us. I am speaking with Uwanma, and we are talking about different things. We've talked about writing earlier on. Now we're talking about migration. We're just talking about, different things. So Uwanma, let's talk about. So it's fantastic that you talked about Nigerians and their work ethics and how they work smartly. But let's also, is there a flip side to this? Is there also Nigerians who don't realize that, look, this is not home anymore. I can't behave anyhow or do anyhow?
Yes, that's on the other side as well, because I mean, there's good and bad, So while I've also encountered the Nigerians who would work hard, put in their best, there are also, a lot of the times, yes, you're working hard, you're working smart, there's also integrity questions. So you find people looking for shortcuts, you find people also looking for ways to, they're not focused on the work because they're thinking, okay, is this the best place for me, or can I still go to Canada? So they're distracted, and then they're just people who just feel like, look, just understand that, anyhow we go rough them. I hear that you don't know how common that phrase is, anyhow, we go run them, and I always give, run what? You can't bring that same attitude that you think you were leaving behind with others, and then bring it here, and it won't affect you. I know someone who lost his job, and this is a great job that people, try to get. He got it in a short space of time. It's a major financial company, global financial company. Got a great job, paying well, and then through really silly ethics decision, him and his friend decided to dub one thing or the other, and HR found out. While one of them, and they were both Nigerians, while one of them was feeling a tad, bad about it, the other was like, anyhow, no mind them, we go talk to them, go. That's not the case here. They will bring out policies and procedures for you. And I said to my friend who was telling me about it, if I was HR, we wouldn't even have a meeting about it. I will type your letter and you are out.
Wow. Let's talk about racism, because I think one of the worries for many people, in fact, this morning I saw a video, how does one deal with racism when, they move out of the country?
Now, that's a tricky question, because you will find racism. I'm glad to say it's not something I've experienced, or maybe I've experienced and I didn't know what it was. Because I think we've been so saturated with that word racism that we see it everywhere. So someone says to me, my colleague gave me an African mask for Secret Santa. She's an African American, and she's like, these racist people. And I'm thinking, wow, African mask, that's nice. And she's, attacking me for being naive or being stupid or being pretentious. For me, I didn't see it as racism. So I think people, it's a function of perception. And again, just try not to see racism everywhere. Because I don't think it's as common as, they make us think it is. And then when you do encounter it, I think the best way to handle it is deal with it on an as-is basis. So it's this one you're dealing with. Stop trying to deal with global racial issues. Just deal with that one in front of you in its situation and in its presence, and move on,
Let's go back to writing. Now, you talked about the fact that you wrote a collection with some other writers. How did you break into the international market?
The beauty of it is that there is an international market for Black authors, especially Black female authors, and there are a lot of Africans in diaspora, and Blacks in other nationalities who are always looking for stories that represent them. So we grew up reading Mills and Bones. It's always white people in there. You know, when we even see someone mixed with something else, it's exciting. But now you can find lots of stories about people who sound and talk like you and who come from your background. So there's a ready and waiting market. And to break into the international markets, it's easier if you use those international platforms.
Okay.
So go where they are.
All right, so let's talk about the Nigerian market, because oftentimes some writers have complained and said that they sell more on international platforms than in the local market. Have you found this to be true for you?
Yes and no. Yes, because Nigerians like imported stuff, or they like Nigerians who have made it abroad. Now they now want to sort of farms, as we say. So then that it becomes, this Nigerian who's doing well internationally, then they want to, you know, okay, there was one news anchor, news platform on Instagram, news page, you know, they write about successful Nigerians. So I wrote a DM to them, that I'm doing this and it's not common you find Nigerian erotic writers, you know, would you like to, let's talk about that. Said, no, we don't know you. That's actually their words. We don't know you. We know, and then they started listing Nigerian international authors who had made it big. I said, okay, don't worry, you'll come to me. Time will come, you'll come to me.
So it's the thing of, okay, well, like you said, we don't appreciate our own. We don't, you know, find it very, you know, we don't appreciate it, bottom line. Well, how do you think there's like a glass ceiling for female writers in Nigeria?
I don't believe there is. And maybe that would get a different response from someone else. But I've always been one who does not believe in ceilings. If it's there, we'll break it. You know, so I don't believe there's one. I just believe that if you put in the work, position yourself in the right situation, surround yourself with the right people, that really you would go beyond your imagination.
Okay, my last question to you, Uwanma, is how are you able to do it? You're an HR professional, you're a media personality, you're also a writer. How did you find time and say that, okay, I want to be an HR professional, and then I move into media, and then I started writing?
I can be quite organized. As a matter of fact, when I was coming in and the lady at the airport here who was going through my bag said, wow, this is really organized, everything in its place. I said, yes, so that when I dip my hand with my eyes shut, I know where I'm going and what I'm reaching for. So it's essentially the same. I'm big on to-do lists. I call them my hot lists, you know. So everything has to be done at a certain time. Of course, not all the time that it happens. And then a lot of times my weekends are also, you know, for things that interest me. So I'm not really out partying. I've never been much of a party person. Once in a while, I hang out with friends. That's it. I think my only other vice is movies.
I love watching movies too.
Yep.
All right, Mama, we have to have you here again. I hope you'll find time, even if it's via Zoom.
Oh, that would be
because
nice.
I know you're just in town for a short period. Yes. All right, that's our episode on one-on-one today. I hope you've learned so many things, because Uwanma is a woman of many moving parts. So see you again sometime soon. My name is Funmi Unuajefe. Thank you for joining us.